The average car enthusiast does not need to spend thousands of dollars on a pressure washer just to clean their car. You can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with appreciating the finer things in life, but it's not required. If you just want to clean your car, use a foam cannon, average stuff like that, this Karcher K1700 is gonna do the job just fine. But the only thing is, you gotta spend a few $100 extra on all of this crap in order to make it work properly. But more on that in a minute. I guess I should probably try to clean this thing up a little bit first before I try to show it off to you. There, that's better. So this is the Karcher K1700. K for Karcher, 1700 for, you guessed it, 1700 PSI, I assume. And there's two different versions of this. So you can get it with like wheels on the side and a handle and stuff to move it around and be portable. For me, I like this cube version that doesn't have any of that because it makes it so much more compact. It takes up hardly any space in your garage. You can just kind of tuck it away in the corner. It's also good if you want to mount it on a wall, on a shelf or something like that. And this thing will power a foam cannon just fine. It's got all the specs that you need in order to get like a good quality, like shaving cream style foam all over your car, if you think that that actually makes it cleaner. Now the question is, why the heck would I spend nearly double the price of the pressure washer itself on this upgrade kit from Obsessed Garage? Well, I'm glad you asked, Jimmy. That's because it transforms this otherwise cheap, crappy pressure washer into a much more high-end unit. So what does all that money get you? Well, starting with this MTM SG28 gun. This is a game changer in terms of the experience of actually using a pressure washer to clean your car. Night and day difference. This is a huge upgrade. Love it. This is the Mosmatic 20-inch curved wand. It's a good idea. Put these two together. It gets you a little bit further away from the car. When I'm cleaning wheels and stuff, I just put the nozzle on the gun and keep it nice and close because it's, you know, closer quarters. But for washing, especially a bigger vehicle like a pickup truck or something, it's nice to have this full gun. We also have the original MTM foam cannon, and this is really nothing special. I mean, there's tons of like cheap Amazon knockoffs out there now. This is the original, and it works great. Very simple design, nothing fancy, no like beautiful clear bottle like some of the expensive ones have. But it's quite a bit cheaper, and it creates kind of the same level of foam, so, you know. It also comes with a 4-pack of these nozzles, and I only use this white 40-degree one. This is, in my experience, this is what the setup works best with. The other three I've never really used, but you got them if you want them, I guess. I also ordered my kit with this 25-foot long Cobra Jet hose, and it's got quick disconnects and a swivel on this end? Yeah, it's got a swivel on one end, not on the other. 3/8 hose. Much, much higher quality hose than the one that comes with the Karcher unit. And then, speaking of quick disconnects, of course, it also comes with all of the quick disconnects that you need in order to put this together. All the fittings, all the quick disconnects, turnkey, just plug everything in and you're good to go. So the Karcher unit here is rated at 1700 PSI from the factory and 1.2 GPM, or gallons per minute. Now, when you upgrade it with the Obsessed Garage kit, then that changes it. It actually drops it down to 1000 PSI, but it raises the flow up to 1.45 GPM. And in my opinion, I think the water flow is much more important than the PSI because in terms of pressure, I'm not gonna be using it to like clean my cement deck or something like that, right? I'm using it to clean cars and I don't wanna risk damaging my car. So less pressure is kind of okay. As long as you have at least 1000, you're pretty good. By the way, if you haven't noticed, by the lack of the wheels in the MR2, I am right smack dab in the middle of an epic detailing project on this car. And so if you want to see that video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because it'll be coming out in a few weeks probably. Let's get into some pros and cons of this setup now. So we'll start with the pros because I'm a nice guy. First of all, I bought this one for, I think it was like 200 and something bucks a few years ago. So you can get these pressure washers for pretty darn cheap compared to some of the other units out there on the market. The other nice thing about these Karchers is that they come with a 3-year warranty, so if something fails on it, the motor dies or something like that, you're pretty much all set. Another thing is that it's super reliable. I've been using this for I think over 4 years and it's never even had a hiccup. It works every single time, never had an issue whatsoever. The other pros are Obsessed Garage related. Hang on. So the spray pattern on this gun is night and day better than the factory Karcher setup. That's one of the biggest benefits that you get from this. It's not quite like a coin-op car wash, like a more professional setup like that with a really big, powerful spray pattern, but it's pretty close, and it's light years better than any of these electric pressure washers come right out of the factory. It's also just, in general, a much more premium feel. It just feels better in your hands. It's much more sturdier. It's really solid. It feels like you can kind of throw it around, and it doesn't just feel like that. You actually can throw it around, because I have abused this, again, for years. Like, I mean, look at the wear and the damage on it's all scraped up because, you know, I throw it on the ground when I'm done with it, and I'm, you know, washing a car in the middle of the sunshine, and I'm racing trying to whatever. But I haven't been kind to this at all, and it's kind of ugly, kind of beat up, but it's holding up great. Still works perfect. And on that note, let's move on to some cons. And, you know, I could use some extra pressure and some extra flow. I understand that you kind of get what you pay for. A guy can wish, right? It would be nice to get a little bit more out of it. The other thing is this 25-foot hose is not long enough, in my opinion. And it's my own fault because I ordered it with this. It was my own decision, but I would definitely recommend getting a longer hose. This is basically just long enough that you can put the pressure washer at the front of a vehicle and walk around to the back and be able to spray comfortably. Unless you've got like a limousine or something. But for the average vehicle, even a full-size pickup or something like that, it will get you from front to back, but not like super comfortably. So I got this because I was cheap, and I didn't want to spend the big money on the really longer hose. And in hindsight, I do wish that I had. And I think maybe that's something I'm going to upgrade in the future still. Am I dripping all over myself? Great. Another little downside here is the quick disconnects and the swivel are getting a little bit sticky over the years, especially the swivel here. It still functions, it still moves, but you know what, maybe I need to just, I think I might just have to like grease it up or something. I think there's probably a national shortage on baby oil these days. My only other complaint is that the pressure washer itself just looks and feels kind of cheap, because honestly, like, that's what it is. It's not really a surprise, but like this yellow color is ugly to me. It doesn't look like the high-end setups do. The expensive ones look a lot classier. They blend in with your garage a little better. This one, you know, we got like the blue hose, blue wand, and then the bright yellow unit. And now, a few tips for using all this stuff. So first of all, when you're plugging this into your hose coming out of your house, if you have like a garden hose that you're plugging it into, make sure that you put the rubber washer in here, because if you don't, this thing is going to leak like crazy. It's going to spray all over the place. Super annoying. All you need is just that little rubber washer, little O-ring, just stick it in there and it seals up perfectly fine. Another thing to keep in mind is anytime that you have this nozzle disconnected, even though you can tell when it's clipped in firmly, you can hear the click. Don't trust it, guys. Every time you've had that out, before you point it at your car, spray it away from the car first, and then you're ready to go. Because if for whatever reason this hasn't seated properly and this quick disconnect is not quite locked in, this little, I mean, look at this thing. This nozzle is a chunk of metal. This is going to turn into a deadly projectile. It's going to smash a window. It's going to dent your fender. This will mess your car up if it shoots out at 1,000 PSI, so make sure that it's locked in place. Also, when it comes to getting good quality foam out of your foam cannon, yes, part of it does come down to the specs of the pressure washer. You want to make sure you're having enough water flow and everything. But the big thing is the soap that you choose. I've got a few different ones here. I've got, you know, this is a cheap one from Canadian Tire. This one actually foams really well, so any fellow Canadians, this Simonized stuff does a pretty good job. This stuff from the detail firm Exterior Lather, this also does a pretty good job, but it's a small bottle and foam cannons use a lot of product. So it's maybe not the most economic. And this one here, Lithium Double Tap, this is one of my favorite car soaps, mainly because it doesn't leave a residue behind. There's no film behind, so in the event that you're washing outside in the daylight and the sun dries your car, it's not gonna put like a harmful residue stuck on your paint and like etch it on there. You can just kind of re-wet it and it's fine. The downside is that this doesn't really make high quality suds. Like you can put it in your wash bucket and you can tell there's soap in there, but it's not the same as some of these really fluffy, foamy soaps. So when you put this in a foam cannon, and I've tried this, it doesn't make the best quality foam. So if anything, My personal setup, I like to use this stuff in the foam cannon because it's cheap, and then I'll put this in my wash bucket. This stuff might leave a residue if it dries, but I'm following it up with this stuff that doesn't have a residue after. So this is kind of like a 1-2 punch combo. There's a million different high quality soaps that you can make good foam with a setup like this, but the main thing is that this pressure washer is capable of creating pretty good foam for a car. So future plans for me with this pressure washer, I'm gonna be keeping it. I think it's great, it works awesome for me. One thing I do want to change though, move the stroller out of the way here. I would like to do sort of a shelf mounted setup here. Maybe put a shelf here, mount the pressure washer here. That's where my water source is, out there on the side of the house. And I do have a natural gas line that runs along the side of the deck. And I think I would like to make some kind of a PVC pipe I'm gonna put like a Y pipe on the nozzle and be able to have a shut off to send water along that and drill into this brick wall here. This is where the gas is coming in. So maybe you have water coming in near here somewhere, and then plumb it up and then have it mounted on this wall somewhere, because then I can just plug it directly into the outlet. I can just hit the switch, turn the water on outside, and go straight to washing a car. And if I was gonna do that, I would definitely want to get a longer hose to be able to go all the way out to the driveway and see like where the 4Runner is parked right now. Just have it sitting out there and be able to have a long enough hose to wrap around the truck and wash vehicles out there. I think that would be pretty awesome. Another upgrade I would like to make is the yellow. The yellow. It's just, maybe I can paint this, I wonder if I can even like vinyl wrap it or something. I think just anything other than the yellow. I think I gotta do something about it. So I'll just either tape it off, or I don't know if maybe this front piece, the plastic trim piece, actually comes off. I would have to look and see, but I think I'd like to do something like that, especially if I'm gonna be mounting it over there on that wall. I don't want a bright yellow box sticking out. So those two things I think would be great upgrades to make this even more of a premium setup for myself. So what's the verdict? Well, I think if you're on a really tight budget and you can't afford more than a couple $100, just the regular Karcher K1700 is gonna do the trick just fine. You can wash a car with it, you can use a foam cannon. I think technically they come with brass fittings and stuff that you can get foam cannon attachments for. But in my opinion, the Karcher hose and the wand and the gun, they're all just kind of junk. I think they're trash. They're not really usable. It's really lightweight and flimsy feeling plastic, and you don't have any swivels or anything like that. So every time you turn your hand with the wand, the whole hose is gonna twist with you. Just not a great feeling experience. The other issue that I have with the straight Karcher setup is that the spray pattern is very narrow compared to the setup with the Obsessed Garage upgrade. And I don't like a narrow spray pattern, because it's like, you're carving lines almost in your muddy vehicle instead of spraying across the whole panel to remove everything. You're more cutting into it because it's so like a sharp point. It's just not as good. But overall, the Obsessed Garage upgrade takes what is otherwise a fairly cheap unit and really bumps it up into a more premium experience. But even though this is quite a bit more expensive to do it this way, you're still only talking hundreds of dollars instead of thousands of dollars with something like a Krenzla. This is powerful enough to be able to clean your rig after you've been off-roading and you got it all covered in mud and everything. But it's also gentle enough that you can use it on your engine bay, you can use it on more sensitive cars like the MR2 here and not have to worry about damaging things. And I know there's gonna be comments saying this, that you can source all of these fittings and components yourself for much cheaper, but with Obsessed Garage, they just do it all for you and you can just plug it all in. And for me, I would rather spend that time playing with cars or hanging out with my family. I don't have time to go through catalogs and finding every single part number and piecing all this stuff together, but that's totally up to you. If you want to do it yourself, go for it. Now, maybe this is still too expensive for you, or maybe you can't wash your car at home with a pressure washer or something like that. Watch this video next to see how I wash my 4Runner in the middle of winter when I'm unable to use any pressure washer at all.